Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you enjoy the next 15 minutes. I'm Ayush.
I'm Anvita.
And I'm Tavi, and we're part of a student-run initiative for the youth by the youth called Project Kara that works towards providing access, information, and awareness to the youth with regards to mental health.
We're going to be speaking about the Indian education system and the way it regards mental health.
Speaking from personal experience, most Indian education systems only focus on academics and don't really leave that much room to grow in other areas. So, personally, I was really interested in music, and a lot of schools didn't provide that space to explore your hobbies and passions. And there are a lot of theories around how kids have multiple intelligences. So while you're probably good at specific intelligences, you're likely to possess a range of abilities. And it's important to leave room to develop all of them. But I found that in most schools, they focus on competing and excelling only in academics.
Now, with regards to competition, I believe that, personally, I believe that competition actually has both positive and negative effects. While on one hand, competition can push students to do better than they normally would, to compete with their peers and try to, achieve results that without somebody else competing against them, they wouldn't be able to. On the other hand, it also brings in this toxic aspect and creates an environment where students are, they're afraid to, um, they essentially place too much importance on exams and lose track of everything else just so that they can beat their friend, just so that they're on the same level as someone they know personally.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Ayush said because personally, this happens a lot in schools where a student is literally afraid to go up to a teacher and talk about what they're not understanding or if they have doubts because asking for help can be seen as a sign of inferiority. Just because the competition level is so high and so rigorous that for a student, asking for help is feels like they're falling behind already.
And I think it's also interesting to think about why that competitive environment is created because all said, it helps schools, academic performance in general. If it's better, you make more money. That's just the way the world works.
Yeah, I think with regards to that, I think the general mentality that schools have, while they are non-profit institutions at the end of the day, they still need to make money, right? They still need to pay salaries. So the question that they face is why do they waste money on counseling, which in their opinion doesn't help directly affect your students' results? Why would you waste money on that? In fact, only 3% of private schools, as per a report by the Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India, have actual appointment records. That means that less than 3% have even the presence of a counselor with regards to appointment records. This is extremely appalling and something has to be done about the same.
And I think adding to your point, it's also a cultural issue, right? Because parents want their kids to do well, but sometimes that their desire to have their children excel trumps all other aspects of life. So mental health kind of takes a backseat and it kind of you kind of have a tunnel vision towards the end goal of getting the best board grades possible.
Yeah, I think another aspect is personally, I think that oftentimes what happens is parents go in with the mentality that, oh no, my child is going to be XYZ profession. And essentially, they're just shoved towards completing that profession, completing a degree, and getting a job. And I think it's parents should try not to force their own dreams, their own mentalities onto their children, but allow them to actually think for themselves.
Yeah, I think especially in India, there is a lack of just exposure to different types of career paths because I've heard so many people just hearing from their parents that, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be an engineer, you're going to be a lawyer. And I think in today's world, there's so many professions that are growing and that need to be explored. And children, just because of the mentality of their parents, don't get this opportunity.
And I think, speaking on what Ayush said, it's also part of it is the drive to find a money-making profession. All said, you have to be practical and you have to find a job that will help you survive and will make enough money for you to be independent. But that can lead to not considering your child's interests or hobbies and talents. And since you're not exposed to a variety of different careers, a lot of times kids are forced into either engineer, lawyer, doctor.
Perhaps more importantly, we need to look at how important mental health is in the eyes of governments, more specifically the Indian government. And the quick answer is they don't regard it with much importance. As a whole, the Indian government doesn't invest much into mental health initiatives. For example, the Indian government only spends just 33 paisa, which is less than a single US cent, on a mental health sufferer in a whole year. It's not that the government outright doesn't implement any initiatives. They also implement initiatives such as the school health program, teachers orientation programs, and student enrichment programs, which are done by NIMHANS. However, again, with the same, they don't they do not have the same outreach and the grassroots approach that is required to combat this kind of an issue, where you need community level outreach programs in order to actually spread the word about mental health and how it should be regarded.
And it's kind of shocking to see that so little is invested when it's such a prevalent issue. At any point in time, there's nearly 50 million Indian children suffering from mental disorders. And that's just children. If you count adolescents and adults, the number is going to increase dramatically.
What's really scary as well is that less than 1% of these children facing mental health problems get treated. Children in India tend not to reach out to mental health professionals due to stigma as well as how expensive it can be. For somebody like us, who I think are privileged enough to have access to psychologists, etc., we still find it hard to bring up these topics and talk about it. So just imagine someone who probably can't even afford it and goes through so much more. I think that the fact that it's not even about like the lack of facilities, but just purely because you're not ready to talk about it plays a big role.
Yeah, and I think more than just the fear, it's also just the lack of importance. We're not told to care about mental health, and that has like drastic effects both academically and personally.
I think that again ties into the whole cultural aspect where people, parents themselves never really place any sort of importance on taking care of yourself with regards to your mental health, and everything is the mindset of parents has always been extremely goal oriented, and with that in mind, not as much focus is placed on the same.
More than just your parents, your friends, your teachers, because I'm fortunate enough to have parents that are super supportive of me pursuing my hobbies and exploring other options. But we're still never told when to pull back, when, we're not told what to look out for to see if we're burning out. We're not told to go talk to a counselor. We're not exactly told what to do or what to look out for. And I think more than just that, we're not told how to deal with the stress of studying. We're not told how to manage our time. We're not really told how to deal with a bad result, how to separate the results from your ability and intellect, essentially.
Yeah, I think another issue obviously is that people forget that mental health is just as important as physical health. And if you don't take care of yourself mentally, this definitely plays a role in how your body reacts to it. At least personally, I know that during things like exams, I forget to eat, I don't sleep enough hours, and this really takes a toll on your body and your health as well. So in the process of not paying attention to your mental health, it does affect everything else.
I think another aspect that's important is for students to find their own personal ways to study and be productive. Now, while reading books about study skills and watching videos might be useful, at the end of the day, it comes out to what works for you and what you can do effectively and sustainably with regards to your health.
Check out our last video, Something Colorful. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Project Kara and read some of our articles on our website. The links are in the description below.